everybody. So glad that you're here. Let's stand and sing together. Just want to say welcome to you, whether you call Movement your home or this is your first time here. We're just glad that you're here. We're going to worship together, and this is just going to be an awesome morning where we get to talk about the heart of God. But we're going to sing a song called Graves into Gardens. And what that means, that line right there, graves into gardens, is that's what God does for us. We were once dead in our sin and far from God. And that is called a grave. And now God has created in us gardens. And He's growing us to be His people. So let's sing. And I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. And man's empty praise, treasures that fade, are never enough. Then you came along. Then you came along and put me back together. And every desire is now satisfied here in your love. There's nothing we sing. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Don't we know it's true? 'Cause I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. But you've seen them all and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain, come on, He's the God of the valley. There's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. I know. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. 'Cause you turn my mourning into dancing. Come on. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn my mourning, come on. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. He's the only. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Come on. Better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. There's nothing. Come on. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. 'Cause you turn my graves. Come on. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. Come on. You're the only one who. One more time. You're the only one who can.
All right, you guys can have a seat. How are we doing this morning? Awesome. Well, my name is Ellen. I'm going to be your host this morning, just walking you through this morning as we walk together. And we are jumping into a new series today. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I think for a lot of us, we might be walking into this morning feeling like it's been a really heavy week, just with everything that is going on in the world. And I think that it is no coincidence that this message series is just right on time, because we get to talk about the power of partnership and the way that God calls us to partner alongside him in his mission in this world. And I really think that there's something that we can all take away from that this morning, and knowing how we respond to what's going on in the world around us. So I'm just glad that you're all here for that this morning. And maybe you're brand new to us today. I know I've seen a few new faces come through the doors this morning, or maybe you're watching online and you're new to us as well. We would love to know your name and get to know you. So the easiest way for you to do that is just to fill out a Connect card. If you're here in person, there is a paper Connect card in front of you in the seat back pocket, or you can even use the little QR code and just scan that with your phone and just give us your name and some contact info, because we would love to get you plugged in here. And even by doing that, if this is your first time filling that out, we're going to donate $5 to one of our partner organizations on your behalf. So you get to be part of mission from the first time you're here, and you get to hear more about our partners throughout this series. So you'll get to choose which one of those partners you want that $5 to go to. So make sure to take some time to fill that out. And maybe it isn't your first time here, but maybe you're really interested in getting plugged into a move group. Maybe you haven't been part of a group before. That's just a small group of people who meet on a regular basis and just walk together in following God. And so if you would love to be part of something like that, that's something that we would love to know, and you can put that down on your Connect card. Doesn't have to be the first time filling that out to let us know that you would love to plug into a move group. We're going to be relaunching those groups in just a few weeks from now. So just stay tuned and let us know if that's something that you want to plug into. So you can go ahead and take a moment to fill out a Connect card, and we will just continue in our time together this morning by watching this video.
All right. Well, hey, once again, good morning. And it is so great to be celebrating with you. Hey, if you were watching, looking at that screen for move groups and wondering if you should connect, and then you saw the Michigan sweatshirt and thought second about it, trust me, just joking. All right. As you'll find out, if you love Michigan, we love you, and God is for you. Even if Ohio State fans aren't, you'll hear more about that today. But anyways, really excited about this series because I think we know, deep down inside, I think we know what I'm about to say. We know it to be true, and what I'm going to say is there's power in partnership. There is power in partnership, and if you think about your life, think about some of your greatest accomplishments, think about some of the challenges that you've walked through, think about your greatest celebrations. My guess is they have not been done alone, that you've walked with people, that there have been people encouraging you, there have been people walking alongside of you. I think about, I'm a huge sports guy, I think about sports. And even individual sports are not individual sports, right? I mean, if you're a golfer, no one wins the U.S. Open alone, right? You've got a caddy that's working with you and a swing coach and people that are walking alongside of you and with you in order to accomplish something. Every single accomplishment, everything of significance, more than likely in your life is done with people. There's partners that walk alongside of you because we really just discover this truth. There's power in partnership. And this isn't just something we know as a church. This is something that we wholeheartedly believe in. It is core to who we are. It's important as we think about as we think about what we do and what we're trying to accomplish, I will just tell you, we don't do it alone. We do it together, and we do it with others. We work with others. We serve with others. You're going to get to hear over the course of the series. You're going to actually get to hear from some of our partners. We talk about our partners on a regular basis around here, and Ellen mentioned so often. Pretty much every week we'll talk about how you can be a part of being generous towards some of our partners from the beginning through just filling out a connection card and us making a contribution on your behalf. And you're going to get to hear from people within those organizations, why what they do matters, how we can be a part of that. And partnership isn't just a financial partnership. Partnership is bigger than that. It's more significant than that. And so we'll talk about that. Now, if you're new to Movement and this is your first time here, I just want to say you picked a great week to be here because I really think this idea of partnership it's really foundational to who we are. And so you're going to discover a little bit more about who we are today. If you've been here for a while, maybe the last few months, or just trying to figure out a little bit more, I think over the next few weeks, you're going to actually get to experience and discover that more in a lot of ways and discover how you can be a part of that. And so you picked a great time to be here. If you've been here for a long time, you can sleep. All right, that's what you get to do today. No, joking. Honestly, I think it's so easy to lose sight of just how important, how significant, how God ordained these relationships are that we have, that God has put us in these relationships for something very, very significant. And so we're going to walk through that. But I also want to talk about partnerships really from a couple different levels as we get rolling. The first one is that organizational level about some of our partners that we have. And the reason that we have those is we believe there's power in partnership. But I also want to begin by talking about, and we're going to walk through it throughout this series, I want to talk about something that is super foundational for us to believe. And honestly, it is very freeing, very exciting, and something that I think if you can grab a hold of this, it will change your understanding of what God has for you. And I think it's sometimes easy to maybe just kind of go right over this and miss the significance. But here's a statement that I want you to understand, and it's this, that throughout history, like not just today, but throughout history, God has chosen to partner with people in order to accomplish his purpose. Let me say that one more time. That God has chosen to partner with people in order to accomplish his purpose. And this is super significant because if you think about God, who is, as you're in here today, what one of our foundational understandings as a church, one of the things that we believe in is that God is creator of the world, that he created the heavens and the earth, that he creates people, that people are created in his image, and he is over everything, he is above everything, and yet this God who is above everything, over everything, all-powerful, invites people in to be a part of his purpose, and his purpose is really this. If I were to lay it out, and there's a lot of different ways that you could do this, and a lot of ways you might say this, but here's a simple way that I would put it. That God's primary purpose, like his mission, is to redeem and restore his relationship with people. His primary purpose, what God is ordering around us, what God is trying to do through you and through me, is to redeem and restore his relationship with people. And we look all the way back into the book of Genesis, and we see just why that is, that God created people, God created humanity to be in relationship with him, to walk with him, but along the way, right, through a bunch of messiness and selfishness and brokenness, along the way, we make a mess of things, and we see that all the way back in the book of Genesis, that God begins this rescue mission in order to redeem and restore creation and humanity back to the way that it was meant to be, back into this relationship that's good and it's pleasing and it's powerful and it's significant and it's driven by love and it's relational. And his work is to get back to that place. And what's so cool about it is we see that throughout history, he invites people into that process. All the way back, we read about a guy in the book of Genesis by the name of Abraham, And he says, Abraham, if you'll go by faith, if you'll take a step and you'll follow me, I'm going to lead you into a place unknown, but you're going to become the father of this great nation, and all your descendants will be as numerous as the stars of the sky. Like from you, this nation will be born, that I'm going to use this nation. I'm going to partner with this nation in order to reach and redeem and restore humanity. And so, Abraham goes, the nation is the people of Israel, and the people of Israel find themselves in slavery. And along comes this guy by the name of Moses, and God says, Moses, I want to use you in the middle of, your inadequacy, and there's things that you feel like you can't do, but I'm going to build you up, and I'm going to partner with you to free you from slavery. And he does so. And then this guy named David comes along, and David builds just this foundation. He's the king of Israel, and he builds this reverence and this heart for God, that people would pursue God. And he uses David, and we fast forward and we get into the New Testament, and we see that ultimately that Jesus comes along, and Jesus is the answer to how God is going to redeem and restore people. He's come to restore not just a nation, not just a few people, but all people back into relationship, back to a restored relationship with God, where people can really look beyond their failures and their mistakes and their brokenness and be made right. And Jesus comes into the picture, and what does he do? He invites some people to partner with him from the very beginning. He invites people into a partnership relationship. We see in Matthew chapter 4, it says, one day, Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, and he saw two brothers, Simon, also called Peter, and Andrew, who were throwing their net into the water, for they fished for a living. So this is what they do for a living. And Jesus calls out to them, and he says, come follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people. And as Jesus says this, it says they left their nets, and at once they followed him. Now, this is what, these two individuals did for a living. This is their career. They fish for a living. And Jesus says, yeah, that's important, and I know that's how your family survives, but let me point you to something bigger than a task, bigger than just a career. Let me point you to what really matters, and that is people. He says, come follow me, and I will show you how to have purpose. I will show you what really matters most. Come walk with me, to his disciples, and I'm going to show you what matters most to the heart of God, and I'm going to show you how to live. And here's what matters most to God, right? He says it when he invites them in. He says, people matter most. People. Like the most significant part of God's creation is people, and what matters most to him are people. And even today, as we're here in this moment, I think we can lose sight of that. We can make a lot of things really important that aren't as important as people. And I think I know I can be guilty of that. I know you probably can as well. I have to constantly remind myself, as I'm in the busyness of my day, people over task, because people are what matter most to God. And how much do people matter to God? How much? Well, this is what we read in John chapter 3. Even if you're not a church person, my guess is you've at some point come across John chapter 3, verse 16. Here's what it says. It says, for this is how God loved the world. He gave his one and only son so that everyone who believes him should not perish but have eternal life. Check this out. God sent his son into the world, not to judge the world, but to save the world through him. Let me tell you what this means. Let me tell you, if I could summarize this passage into just a statement, it would be this. God is for people. He's for people. God is for people. How much is he for people? It says, God so loved the world. For God loved the world enough that he sent his son into the world, not to judge the world, but that the world may be saved through him. God is for people. Let's just stop there for a minute. Because, I think this is something that we really have to examine a little bit. And in a moment of honesty, I want to say that we probably don't always think this way. People who would say they don't believe in God or they're disconnected from God, people that are just searching for God, I'm guessing that there are times in their lives where they wouldn't believe this. We can shake our heads and say, yeah, God's for people. we can rally around that, and yet I think if we're really honest, it would be easy to maybe come to a different conclusion. I mean, I think about maybe you're here and you're just not sure about God, and you're not sure God is for you. Perhaps you want to believe this to be true, but you just look and God didn't show up in a way that you thought he would, or you think about God and you just think about how he judges you, or what that would look like. And I want to take it a step further, because I think if we're really honest, the reason maybe people don't understand this phrase that God is for people is probably because as they look around at Christians, that is not necessarily what people who follow Jesus are known for, and that breaks my heart. I think if we were to take an honest assessment, so often Christians are known more for what they're against than for being for people, right? And I think even as we look at this passage out of the book of John, I think that's why Jesus starts with this. He says, "For the Son of Man did not come into the world to judge the world, but to save the world through him." And let's just call it what it is. If we're really honest, I think a lot of times we can be known for more for what we're against than what we're for. And get this, even when we think we're for something and we're promoting what we're for, people that don't carry that same belief view it as we're against them. And honestly, I think some of that is the way in which things come across. I think about just, the world that we live in. And just this week, this is sort of unscripted territory for me. I just felt like I was leading me to it this morning. I think about social media, which I try to pretty much avoid at all costs anymore. But can I just talk to you for a minute? Like, when you post something on social media, before you post that, I just encourage you to think about, does this say that I'm for people? Does it say that I'm for people? And like I said, I think it's really easy to say, well, in a way it is, because I'm pointing them to, I'm pointing them to my beliefs, which are more important. But honestly, let's talk about this for a minute. Does it say that I'm for people? And I get it. Like, I'm with you. There are a lot of things in our world that are frustrating. There's a lot of things that don't go our way. There's a lot of things that aggravate us or that, bother us. But man, I just think so often, if we're not careful, we're known more for what we're against, more for what's not going our way, than being known as people that are for others. And as I think about what Jesus' words are in the book of John, he doesn't say, "For God so loved people that think the same way as me," for people that show up the way they're supposed to for me, that please me, that do what I say, that don't make mistakes. It doesn't say any of that. Just that God loved people so much. People that think the same way as maybe you do, and people that think differently than you. God loved them so much that Jesus came to die for them. Not to judge, but to save the world through them. And I just want to say, because I think this can get really messy, and some of you right now are probably thinking about the Facebook post that you're gonna, but in all seriousness, like, man, as followers of Jesus, as people who want to reflect the heart of God, we've got to be for people. We've got to be for people. And here's what I know to be true is that every person is of great value to God. Everyone is of great value to God. And how we treat people and how we look to people and the words that we say and the way that we support and the way we encourage, it provides an opportunity for them to know that they're of great value to God, or they have the ability to tear someone down, make them feel less than, unworthy, unloved. In church, I just think about the power of what it means to know that God is for people. And if we're going to experience the power of partnering with God, if we're really going to partner with God, if we're going to accept his invitation and say, man, I want to be a part of bring about restoration. I want to see my friends and my family and my coworkers and my neighbors, whether I like my neighbors or I don't like my neighbors, whether I want to work with that person or I don't. I care about them enough that I want them to be restored. I want them to know what it's like to be loved by God and known by God. If I want to truly experience that, then we have to come to this place where this phrase drives the way we view people, because people are of great value to God. And so we have to come to this place where we can say this, that God is for people and so am I. God is for people and so am I. And this is a moment of growth for many of us, because I think culturally, I think we're in such a place that we've really gotten this place that we can very quickly write off people because they frustrate us, or they're not responding the way that we think they ought to respond, or they're not treating us how we think we ought to be treated. And we look at Jesus and the way that he was treated and the way that people treated him, and yet we see how he showed up and loved and cared and responded and said, God is for you. And church, what if we really were known as people that live by this motto that God is for you and so am I? Guy in the Michigan shirt, God is for you and so am I, right? Come on now. Person that has different political views, different social views, God is for you and so am I. God is for you and so am I. Think about Jesus. Like I said, Jesus tells us what matters most. He shows us what matters most. His first miracle was turning water into wine, because he was at a wedding and he wanted to say, God is for you and so am I. And so I want to serve you. And here you go. I look at the party they threw for Matthew and his tax collector friends who were notorious for being way far from God and robbing people. And Jesus shows up and says, I want to eat with you and be a part of your life. I want to care for you and serve you. God is with you and so am I. I think about the woman caught in adultery and how judgment could have been the driver. Instead, Jesus loves and serves and cares for her and says, God is for you. Your past, your present, it doesn't have to define you, because God is for you. God is for you, and so am I. So how do we live this out? How do we get there? I think there are three things I just want to point you to. There are more, but let me give you three things really quick that I think are really, really important. The first thing is this: lead with love. Man, what if you led your life, if you truly led with love, and not, well, I love you, so let me tell you how it is. Lead with love. Lead with love. 1 John chapter 4 says, dear friends, let us continue to love one another, for love comes from God, and anyone who loves is a child of God and knows God. But anyone who does not love does not know God, for God is love. God showed us how much he loved us, right? That God is for us by sending his son, his one and only son into the world, so that we may have eternal life through him. This is real love. Not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his son as a sacrifice to take away our sin. Now, think about this for a minute. Do you want to know how you know that God is for you? That's a lot of no's there. You want to know how God's for you? It says, not that we loved God, but that he loved us. He didn't wait for us to respond. He didn't wait for us to change, behave a certain way, and then I'll do something for you, believe what I believe, and then, then I'm willing to do this for you. But rather, before we could do anything, before we believed anything, before we behaved any certain way, God came into the world through his son and rescued us. And that is what love looks like. And so we lead with love. We don't lead with once people behave a certain way, but rather we just say, I'm going to love people. Ask yourself the question, what does love require of me? What does it look like to love this person in a situation? Before you hit send on Facebook, is this loving people? Is this showing people that God is for them? Before you decide to, go off on a coworker, what does it look like to love this person? Before you decide to write someone off, what does it look like to love this person? God is for you, so am I. The second thing is this: listen and look. Here's what is so easy for us to do, is to get so caught up in our world that we lose sight of what everything else is going on around us, right? We lose sight. And so what would it look like for you to start listening and looking for ways to show people that God is for them, and so are you. You got to listen and look. You've got to be aware. You've got to be attentive. I was talking with someone at work this week, and she was talking about trying to help her husband hang drywall, and it sounded like it was a little bit of a rough situation. Maybe the power of partnership was not working to its fullest in the moment, and so I sent a text this week. It was like I looked and I listened, and I was like, you know what? They could use some help. And so I sent a text saying, hey, I would love to come over tonight and help you out hanging some drywall if it's something you'd like allow me to be a part of. And so I went over and hung some drywall. Now, it sounds silly, but so often we hear the needs of people around us, but we're so caught up in, I've got 3 soccer practices to go to, and I've got to figure out dinner, and I've got a X, Y, and Z. We're so caught up in everything we have to do that we're not looking and listening for ways to serve and love others and share that we're for them. Look and listen. Final thing is this. Church, we have to show up. Have to show up. You cannot show that you're for people if you don't show up. Saying you're for people is not in your words. It's not in your, oh, wouldn't that be cools? It's not in your, I probably should do something about this. Showing that you're for people happens when you show up. And I know we can't show up to everything. And there is rhythm and there's balance. And you can burn yourself out and you can be overwhelmed and you can be in too much. But let's face it, let's step back and let's realize that for many of us, we have good intentions that never move beyond intentions, right? We take our good intentions to the grave because we're never willing to actually step up and show up. Look, I have 3 kids. I don't want them to hate me or the church. I don't want it, but I also want them to know as a person who's following God that I show up for other people, even if it means sometimes we have to sacrifice, right? We have to sacrifice something we want in order to do it. We show up. We show up. God is for you, and so am I. I thought about a time in my life where I knew someone was for me, and I couldn't help but think back. I was maybe 5th grade, maybe 4th, 5th, 6th grade, and I was playing in this all-star baseball tournament. It was about 110 out. It was really, really hot, so like this week, something similar to that. It wasn't that hot this week. Holy moly. Wow, right? So anyways, so I'm at this tournament, and it's really hot, and all of a sudden I look over and I see my grandpa struggling to like get to the side of the field, and my grandpa had just had half of his lung removed, a quadruple bypass, was going through chemo for cancer that he had no business being there, but he showed up. And I remember looking over and knowing that someone was for me, right? Like in that moment, knowing like I mattered to my grandpa. He modeled it. Years later now, fast forward, and my dad is in a similar situation and going through a lot of the same. And I remember sitting in the car at the game when my dad, for my oldest daughter Molly, when he had no business being there, and but he showed up because it mattered. And I'll just end with this. I think God's calling us to be people that show up, even when it's difficult, even when it hurts, even when it involves sacrifice, even when there are other things that we could be doing. The way that you show that God is for you, and so am I, is we show up. And we lead with love. We look and we listen and we show up. Hey, let's pray. God, I pray for just today that you would call us to a place of action. God, that you would call us to be people that lived as Jesus lived. God, that we would love and we lead with love, God, that we would show up and that we would look and listen for opportunities, and that through that we would help people understand that God, you're for them. And God, you were for us before we ever did anything, before we behaved a certain way, before we believed a certain way. God, you were for us when we were broken and messy. You were for us, and you showed up in our world. And so, God, we just thank you for that. God, for some of us here, maybe today's the day that we just recognize that you're for us. We fought that. We've ran from that. But today we just say, man, I know, God, that you're for me, that you loved me before I could do anything. And so, God, if that's where we're at, I pray that that today would be one of those eye-opening days where we just receive and acknowledge that you're with us. God, I just thank you. I thank you that we have a community here that will challenge each other, that is willing to take risks, willing to sacrifice, willing to say tough things and lead with love. And so, God, just thank you for this. And, God, we know that you're just going to move in significant ways as we move forward. And so we pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Well, hey, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about some partnerships, and this is super exciting for me. Honestly, it's why I wanted to do this series, was more than anything just to kind of talk about how God's moving. And so I want to start today and just talk about our partnership with Glenwood, Findlay State Schools in general, but honestly with Glenwood. And in 2014, we started this relationship built on the fact that we needed a place to meet. And we walked into the school, and they were so just open to letting us be a part of their community and their building. And over the next 5 years or so, we got to serve in a lot of different ways, mentor kids, serve teachers meals, shop for Christmas gifts for kids, you name it. There's a lot of other things that we were able to be a part of. But what was really cool is since we've moved out of that facility, I feel like God's all the more made it an opportunity to really serve and love the staff and the teachers there, and just really care for them and be a part of something really significant. And I will tell you, it's a little different for a church to be as engaged in the schools as maybe we have chosen to be. But I couldn't be more excited about that. For one, we just know this, that God's heartbeat, Jesus' heartbeat was for kids. We see in Matthew chapter 18, some parents bring kids to Jesus. Jesus is busy with a bunch of, Jesus stuff like healing and teaching and, that kind of stuff, Jesus stuff. And it turns out the disciples are like trying to get these kids away, get the kids away. And Jesus is like, no. He says, let the children come to me. In other words, what he's saying is, this is Jesus stuff, right? Like, this is what really matters. And that is, he says, let the children come to me, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to them. And he's pointing to this idea that Jesus came to serve those who are vulnerable, serve those that were, whether they're young at heart or old at heart, but Jesus had this special affinity for kids. And so we just, as a church, decided we're going to serve kids in the same way. And so and serve students. And so we love partnering with Glenwood. I invited Tony Nuenas and Meg Simon, who are Tony's the assistant principal, Meg's the principal at Glenwood. I invited them to come to Movement, thinking they'd say no way. And I said, don't worry, it won't be weird. And little did they know. But I invited them, and they actually said we'd love to come. And so give Tony and Meg a hand as they come up. They're going to come up for a minute. So, we hosted a gathering for the staff and teachers last week, and it was just super cool to see you and your element of caring for teachers, both of you, and this the environment and your passion. I know your passion for kids, and we're just thankful to be a part of what you're doing. I invited you today. My prayer is that you would leave here encouraged, and that you would know that you're not alone, that you have people for you. And I'm hoping that you're feeling that. But I just thought if there's anything you want to say to our community on how we can serve or partner with you, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us here today. Being an educator, being a teacher in today's culture and climate isn't the easiest thing in the world. But knowing that we have a community and people like you that are here to love us and support us and partner with us in that work makes it a lot easier, and it also makes us better for kids. So when we know that we have your support, that partnership that I think is only getting stronger, it makes us ultimately at the end of the day better for kids and better for our community in the long run. So we appreciate everything. We appreciate being able to use your space and inviting us in, but we just thank you for this relationship, and we hope that it continues to grow, because the more that we're together, the better we are for kids and the better we are for our community. So we just say thank you for that.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we're going to have opportunities over the next few weeks. We're going to host serve some breakfast on Fridays.
Teachers love food.
Yeah, teachers love food.
They're better for kids when they're fed.
Hey, and we're going to invite, absolutely. I'm better for kids when I'm fed, too. Yeah. Hey, we're going to invite you into that. The cool thing is, it's what started as, I think, hey, let's drop some stuff off. It's been cool to watch relationships develop and just it become more than that. Really be family. Like, I think there's some just cool stuff happening that way. We love what you're doing. We love that you're for kids. We're for you because of that. And I think it's easy to feel like you're on an island. I pray that you know you're not. So, So anyways, just when you get a chance, connect with Meg and Tony. They'll hang out for a few minutes. Meg, the first time I met you, you were riding a hoverboard. I haven't seen you on that in a while. Did someone, did you get kicked off of that, or do you still have it?
It's dangerous.
It is.
It's dangerous.
It
And now
is.
There's kids that are here at school full time now, so the hallways get a little bit sketchy.
Well, I could use it here if you're not going to use it anymore. Let me know. But anyways, make sure you connect with them. Say hey. They'd love to meet you. But we want to be an encouragement. So here's what we'll do. I just want to encourage you to stand, and we're gonna just pray over them, and hear me out. I know. Like, schools are messy. Let me just tell you, as leaders, especially for the two of you as leaders, I think about the decisions that you make every day that no one likes, right? I mean, and it's tough, and you're trying to navigate through that. I get it. I live in that world as well. But we just want you to know, like, we support you. We're here for you. And like I said, I really want you to know that, because it's not easy. And you guys are doing a great job. So keep it up. And so we're just going to pray over. The band's going to come up. We're going to pray over them. We're also going to pray over, we've got a lot of other teachers and educators, teachers' aides, people that serve in the school. They're in this space because they're a part of our community. And many of you know them. First and foremost, be praying for them. But second, be an encouragement to them, even today, even this week. I know, my wife's a teacher at Chamberlain Hill this year, and I know it's chaos right now a little bit, right? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it's good stuff, but there's a lot. And so just be praying for them as they love and serve kids, and go out of your way to encourage someone today that you know is in that role. Go out of your way to let them know that you're for them. So let's pray together. God, just thanks for this day. Thanks for the relationship that we have with Glenwood. Thanks that Tony and Meg could be here, that they could be a part of our gathering today. God, that they feel valued and comfortable enough to know that we just care for them. God, we want your best for them. God, we want to see you use them to just impact and serve kids in their environment. God, I pray for all of our teachers. I pray for just the work that you're doing through them, the way that you're using them, not just to teach content, but God, to shape kids' lives. And to be just a role model, a positive influence, a person of peace. God, you're using them. And so, God, my prayer is that we would listen and that we would look, that we'd find ways to love and serve kids. God, don't let us miss opportunities. I want to be there. We want to show up. And so, God, my prayer is that would happen. God, I pray just a blessing over Meg and over Tony. God, that you would do just immeasurably more through them than they could even understand at this point. That they would see that they would see their work, that they would be encouraged, that they would know they're not alone. God, that you're with them, but God, that we're with them as well. And so we want to be an encouragement. God, just thanks that they're here. It means the world to me, knowing that they're here to be just a partner in this. And so, God, just thank you for that. And we give you this time in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, thanks again for being here.
as we're talking about teachers and people that are serving kids, the amount that they pour into those kids, it takes a tremendous capacity for love. And so we're going to sing a song that talks about God's love for us. And, you know, we're all going to burn out. They're definitely going to burn out if they don't feel support from us. And we have this amazing access to God, who is love. I mean, he's not running out. That is literally who he is love. And so we're going to take some time now to sing about the source of our love for others and the only way we're going to be able to be for others. So join us in this song as we move forward.
From the darkness. From the darkness, I called your name. Into darkness, your mercy came. You called me out, lifted me up. How great is your love? You bore my weakness, you took my shame, buried my burdens in fields of grace. You called me out, lifted me up. How great is your love? From the heights.
From the heights of heaven, you stepped down to earth. Innocent perfection, you gave your life for us, and we are amazed. Yeah, we stand in awe, for we have been changed by the power of the cross. How great, how great, how great is your love. How great, how great, how great is your love. How great, how great, how great is your love for us.
In your kindness, you lead me home. In your presence, where I belong. You call me out, lifted me up. How great is your love?
From the heights of heaven, you stepped down to earth. Innocent perfection, you gave your life for us, and we are amazed. Yeah, we stand in awe, for we have been changed by the power of the cross.
can go ahead and have a seat. We're going to watch one more video.
Well, hey, Movement, I am here with Candace Shoemaker over Zoom, and we are having just a little bit of a conversation about our partnership with Children's Mentoring Connection. And we've, as a church, have walked alongside of and worked with CMC since really before we ever had a Sunday celebration, before Movement Church existed from a meeting together standpoint. We partnered with CMC, and Candace was one of the first people to be a mentor through CMC at Glenwood. And so Candace, I'd just love to hear what led you to make the decision to take the step into mentoring.
Well, I think truthfully that probably it was looking back at my own life. You look at yourself as a middle school student and you think all the things that people invested in me and invest in other people that get us, farther down the road, and kind of what kinds of things that are encouraging and are helpful to us.
Yeah, awesome. So tell me about how you took the step into mentoring at Glenwood. Tell me about how you saw God move in that relationship, and just tell me what that experience was like.
Well, the experience, I asked God, I said, God, I'm not much of a talker, so could you give me a talker? And he said, no. And he gave me a person that didn't talk a lot. But, over time, I learned to listen between the lines. And we just ended up with, really years of friendship here, where she learned to open up and I learned to listen, and we've shared life together. I think there was some things that I could contribute. I've had a couple different mentees over time. One thing I think that all of us can offer to students is perspective. When you're a middle school student, you think the whole world is right there in school, and you're never going to get out. You're trapped forever and that kind of stuff. So one of the questions I sometimes ask is, tell me everything that you could visualize about yourself when you're 25. Wow. Where will you be? Where will you live? What will you be doing? What's your life going to look like? And start stretching. And then, that's conversations for weeks, because, eventually you kind of get to the point where you say, well, it probably has something to do with a job, which may mean I'm going to need some training, which may mean college, may mean all kinds of things. Anyway, so kind of broaden perspective. I think that's one of the things that helps.
That's awesome. And you mentioned, so how old was your mentee? What grade was she in when you first started mentoring at Glenwood?
She was 8th grade.
So she was an 8th grade student. So you were able to walk with her for a year, and then you continued that mentoring relationship all the way. She's an adult now, and you still have
she's on her own. Yeah,
that relationship, and man, that's just so cool. So tell me about maybe just what you'd say to someone either considering taking the step into being a mentor, or maybe someone that's not even considering it or doesn't have time. What would you say to someone about taking the step into a mentoring role?
I think I would say that maybe one of the things you don't know that you have to contribute is just letting kids know that they can do it. How many people do they really have in their world who are going to say, I'm so proud of you for trying something new, or something hard, or talking to a friend, or sticking up for somebody, or just all those kind of things. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it feels really like it's complex, or I have to have some great wisdom or something like that. And it's just being a cheerleader to a kid, and we can do that. We can all do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, I just appreciate you sharing a little insight into your mentoring experience. I know you have so much more, and as you're around Movement, hopefully people can ask you questions and just hear more about your experience. But just thanks for, I
we say a lot around here, what's God saying to you? What are you going to do about it? And, my prayer is that God would be speaking into people at Movement to say, step into a mentoring relationship with a student because they're in desperate need of that relationship. And so just thanks for being willing to respond to God in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say too that CMC does the heavy lifting. They connect you to the students and they're a wonderful resource all the way along.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much so. They truly are a partner with us, but they partner with the people that are a part of that program very well. So, yep. Thanks, Candace.
Well, I tried this in the first celebration and it bombed, so I'm going to set it up a little better. Candace said CMC does the heavy lifting. I'm also known for doing the heavy lifting as well, so didn't work any better than either. Anyways, no, seriously, so great to hear from Candace. I haven't set that one up to win. Heard from Candace. I love it's that idea of being for, right? Someone to believe in and to support. And I just love hearing her perspective and her place in that. And I love that we get to partner with CMC. We've really, from the beginning of our church, have said, how can we be a partner? You may not know this. We host some trainings and some gatherings. Sometimes CMC will have their board meetings here. But more than that, we've had a lot of people that have said, I'll step in and I'll be a mentor, and have had an impact on kids' lives. And I think CMC needs a lot of fundraisers and a lot of voices, but what they really need are people that are willing to take time to invest in the lives of kids. And so I invited Stacy to come and join us. Stacy is the director at CMC. I think she's on her way up, I'm sure. There she is. All right, so I invited her to come up and just share a little bit more about their work and to say a few words, and then I'm going to invite you into something, or we're going to invite you into something. Just so you know, once a week when the air conditioning comes on, I have to sneeze really bad, and we've now gotten to that point in the celebration,
okay,
Stacey.
well,
So it could
we'll
happen
allow you to do that
at any moment. It happens every week. But anyways, so let me introduce you to Stacy Shaw. Stacy's the director of CMC. Hey, tell us about just the mission of CMC and what CMC is about.
Good morning. Yes, our mission is right along with what we're talking about today through partnership. It's positively impacting a young person's life, one meaningful connection at a time. So that partnership is so key. And everything that we do with kids is really done through a partnership. My job at Children's Mentoring Connection is to be, the person we're making sure we're doing it correctly and the rules are being done, background checks, all that stuff. But the real work happens and always happens with our volunteers. So that is where we love seeing that partnership.
Yeah, it's awesome. So talk about just the significance of mentoring and why it matters so much.
So why mentoring matters so much really goes back to those 3 key points that you were talking about this morning. It really boils down to that you come to the table with love, with compassion, that you are willing to listen to that child. Many times the kids that we work with don't have that at home. So either there's a lot of crazy chaos going on, or they're living with grandparents who are trying to do other things. So that point of stopping and listening and looking between what they're saying, or as Candace was saying, sometimes you just got to be patient. You got to lead some leading questions, and then showing up. And for our school-based program and our partnership with Glenwood Schools, for example, it's that they know that every week that you're going to be there to support them. We have programming, but more importantly, you're going to support that relationship and what's going on in their life.
Yeah, I think the show up part's so important. I was sharing this one time I think it was at a pastor's gathering, but I mentored a student at Glenwood, and about every week he'd say, well, I'm going to visit my dad, or my dad's coming, and then every week I'd meet with him the next week, and it was like it didn't happen. Something came up and it didn't happen, and just think about the power of showing up and the power of presence. And you know this, if you have kids, whether they're elementary, middle school, my daughter is going in, she's a freshman this year, and I'm like, she really needs a mentor in her life, even though, Kate and I are walking, with our kids, and there's a sense of stability at home, or at least we tell our kids that there's a sense of stability at home, like it's very stable here, anyways. But
It's all good, Eric. It's all good.
But honestly, there are a lot of kids that don't have that, and to be a stability and a presence is huge. So talk about Glenwood specifically. Talk about your program there and what's going to happen this year.
Yeah, so that stability is key. So our relationships happen during the lunch period on Wednesdays, once a week, that we'll meet with the children. You'll have a case manager who's always there. Kate does a nice job of having activities planned and things that we're going to do each week. But it's okay if that child has something going on, that things get derailed a little bit. The school's great about giving us a little space if you just need to have that private conversation with that child to kind of help them through. And through that listening, you'll learn things about them. They may come in that day and be like, oh, I bombed that test. And then as you talk to them, well, why was that? And so sometimes it's walking through those steps of, well, maybe we could go take a look at your locker. And then if you've ever opened a middle school's locker, they can probably speak to. Sometimes things stay in and sometimes they don't when you open that. So helping them process through things like that, the organization and utilizing those leader and me skills.
Awesome. So I think it's Wednesdays, right,
yes.
at Glenwood, and it's over lunch, and they're looking for at least 15 mentors to be able to serve in that way. And honestly, I just feel led. I can't sign you guys up because that doesn't work that way. But I really feel like as a church, man, we should be able to accomplish that as a community, like 15 people that would go in on a weekly and love and care. And I know some of you, like, work does not permit, it's not an option. But for some of you, there are a lot of other reasons that you're not, like, I have kids at home, or I'm busy, or, fill in the blank, or it's scary, it's a step of faith, whatever that may be. I just want to encourage you to take the step. I want to encourage you to do it. I know my friend Matt, who many of you know Matt here, I think oftentimes you're like, well, I have kids at home, so I've got to take care of them. Matt's got like half of a football team at home, and or like at least 7v7 football team, and yet he steps in and he mentors. I'm committed to it. I lead by example, and I'll be there. But I would love for you to consider just taking the step. Even if you're like, man, I want to do this, but I don't know if I can, stop by. Stacy, you'll be out right outside the door. If you turn right, she's there. Fill out a card, then get information. Filling out a card does not mean
we're going to knock on your door and drag you every Wednesday.
Yeah, and this is not like they're not selling something, so you don't have to worry about putting your friend's name on the card with their email address. All right,
but if you want to sign your friends up, that's okay
too. You can too. Yeah. So hey, talk to me about if you can't do Wednesdays, talk about other options to serve.
Right. So when we talk about looking for us focusing here today on those 15 people, just remember also it's 15 lives that you have the opportunity to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the most important part of that. And sometimes we'll have you mentor more than one, so that can grow exponentially. But if that school doesn't work for you this year and not the right fit for you, we also have opportunities at 7 other schools that we serve. So we serve students in schools ages 2nd grade up to, we're going up to 6th grade this year. But we also have an opportunity that you can mentor either yourself or as a couple or as a family and be a personal mentor for a young person in our community program. And with that, you have a little bit of flexibility. We ask you get together 2 to 3 times a month, but that's on the schedule that works for you. So some folks are regimented. Every Tuesday they pick kids up from school and go and do things, but we have a lot of flexibility that we can work within that. And I will also throw out that our mentors are from high school age all the way up to as old as you want to go.
Yes, and I think about, I really don't know what I was thinking about there. I was thinking about something.
You want me to sing or dance for a minute to catch up? That'll be bad. That'll be really bad.
Yeah, well, I guess I wasn't thinking. No, I had something oh, yeah, so anyways, if you want to know how important mentoring is and how people's experience is, a lot of our mentors that started in school-based mentoring ended up walking, like Candace, continue to walk with that student even after they kind of aged out of the school-based program. And so you want to talk about, is there relational impact? there are multiple people in the movement that started with a student in Glenwood and still walked with them past then, and so it's just really cool to see that. So,
I will say, walking past then our program ends at high school once they graduate.
Right.
But many people, that relationship, I mean, I'm always running into people, that relationship can be
Right.
20 years later because we've been in the community for so long. And I think that as a mentor, not to speak for Candace, but I would say that she probably got something out of this relationship as well, as not only just
Right.
supporting a young person.
Absolutely. All right. So make sure you stop and see Stacy. Let's make sure we, if we feel led, it's like, what's God saying to me? What am I going to do about it? Let's take a step into it. And next week we'll share with some more of our partners. But for now, I'm going to invite Ellen up, and she's going to kind of wrap things up for today. But I hope for you it's as exciting talking about partnership as it was for me, because I'm pumped about what God's doing. So come say hi to Stacy.
All right. Well, as I think about how we all get a chance to respond today, this is something that we are all called to ask those questions. You know, what is God saying to me? What am I going to do about it? And we all get to think about, okay, God, where are you calling me to look and listen? Where are you calling me to show up? And maybe for some of you, that is by being a mentor. So make sure that you talk to Stacy, because that is so important for our students. But also maybe for some of you, it just means committing to pray over teachers and students this whole school year. And maybe you want to stop and talk with Meg and Tony and just be supporting them. Or maybe for you, it's something completely different in your life that you know God is calling you, like this is where he's calling you to show up. And I know that another way that we can do that is just with our generosity. And so for some of us this morning, what God might be calling us to is to take a step in being generous with our finances. And we know that as we are generous and give to God what we've been first given from him, that he can do far beyond what we would ever ask or imagine with that. So if that's something you want to be a part of this morning, there's an envelope in front of you if you're here in person, or you can scan that same QR code that you used for the Connect card. Or if you're online, you can go to movementfinley.com/give. We're just so grateful to be part of such a generous community here, and be with us next week. So we'll be back here next week, and we're going to be sharing our partnership that we have with the Christian Children's Home of Ohio. So you won't want to miss that, just to learn a little bit more about that partnership. And then the following week, we've mentioned this before, but we will be meal packing here in this space to support one of our other partners, Lifeline. And that's going to be a really fun day that will look really different than typical Sunday. But we're excited, and it's a chance to invite other people into that, invite your friends, neighbors, so that they can see something different. So make sure to mark that on your calendar for September 12th. And I will be out in the Next Steps area after this if you want to come chat. If you're new, we have a gift for you, so make sure to stop by and grab that. And then for now, movement, as you go from this space, just remember this week you get a chance to go and be the church.